Hi, welcome back. Sam Gannon here, and we're talking about working with criticism in this segment. So, who likes to be criticized? I know I don't. I really don't like it at all. But I realize that it's an important part of the process, that I need that critique and that criticism in order to move forward. Again, going back to that example of the diamond, I want to make it the best that it can be, so criticism is part of that. And hopefully, I can accept the criticism in the way that it was intended. And if perhaps it wasn't intended in the best light, I can take it for what it means to me and what I can get out of it. So, what are some important considerations you have when you review someone else's work? Take a minute and think about this. I know when I review someone else's work, I want to temper my remarks. I don't want to be overly positive for fear that I may have missed something. And I don't want to be overly negative because I don't want to hurt their feelings. So I want to kind of strike a balance between the positive and the negative. And that's probably a good rule of thumb. That's what I do, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the best thing. Maybe the best thing is just to tell someone the way it is, that it's really bad or that it's really good, and live with whatever comes out of that. I don't know. I have to have a little bit more experience under my belt before I can do that, perhaps. I love this quote from Aristotle. There's only one way to avoid criticism for people like me who don't like it. Do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. Well, that's not going to be something I can do. So I guess I'll have to live with the criticism. So, what do we do with criticism? What do we do in the peer review when we give our work, our precious thing that we've worked on for so long and invested so much time, to someone else to look at it? Hopefully, you're choosing someone that you trust, someone who understands what you're doing, who understands the pressures that you're under, the time that it took, the labor, all of those pieces, and that they can, like me, temper their remarks. But sometimes that's not always an option. So you want to keep in mind some of the benefits of peer review. By hearing from someone in the scholarly community, you should be able to shape your work. They might help you with clarity, style, flow of your work and the format, but also they'll tell you if there's any lingering questions that your manuscript raises but doesn't address. They'll also tell you if there's any methodological issues, or maybe you didn't explain how you did something in the best way. It doesn't make complete sense. They can help you find the flaws or the holes that could be in your writing. Whereas if someone was just reading it for clarity, style, flow, and format without the technical aspect, they wouldn't have that opportunity. They wouldn't understand necessarily that there is a lingering question or that you had methodological issues. So having someone who's a peer who understands what you're doing review your work is essential. So next up, let's talk about some things that you want them to focus on. Does the conclusion of your manuscript make sense? Is there resolution to the items that you addressed in your introduction and in your abstract? Are you consistent throughout your manuscript in how you're talking about things and how you're phrasing things and the types of words that you're using in the sentence structure? So consistency is essential, as is argument. Is your argument holding water? Is your argument strong? Are you making your point? Are you being as persuasive in your argument as you should be? Are you using sources appropriately? Are there any, big name, really important pieces of research out there that you're not referencing that you should be? Are you appropriately using the references that you are included? Is someone overrepresented? Are you clearly stating your approach throughout? From the start of your paper to the end, is that approach clear? And are you stating it in a clear way? When you introduce the issue, are you being thorough? Are you explaining it from both sides? Is your argument well-founded? Do we understand why you're doing what you're doing? Is the title appropriate? Does the title give reasonable expectations of what we're going to see in this manuscript? And if not, we need to make revisions there. And then lastly, quotations. Are they done appropriately, correctly? Too much paraphrasing, too much direct quoting? Does this really not seem appropriate? All of those pieces. So these are the 8 things that you really want your peer reviewer to focus in on. There's a lot more that we could name that are included in the guide, but these are probably the most important or the most helpful, I would think. So as a general rule, good peer review is constructive, right? That's what criticism should be. It should be able to help you to make pertinent changes that will improve your writing. It should be positive in tone. You don't want someone telling you it's awful or terrible or disastrous. You want them to be mostly positive, and you should be mostly positive when you're reviewing someone else's work. You definitely want to include things that are not right or not good, but your overall tone should be positive, right? You want to be thorough. You don't want to just read the first page or the first 2 pages or read it when you're doing something else, when you're watching the soccer match. You want to read it when you can have time to pore over it and really make good comments. So if you agree to be someone's peer reviewer, know that you're signing up for a few hours of your time to help them out. So you want to be thorough, you want to cover the entire paper, and you want to be detailed in your comments, not just scratch something out and say, this is terrible, but explain why it's terrible, or explain why it's not right, and maybe give some suggestions on what should be done. Now you also want to help them prioritize. So not only did you find these 117 things that were wrong, but here are the top 3 things that you can do to improve your work. So if someone can help you prioritize, maybe you've got limited time between now and when it needs to be submitted. Or maybe you have limited resources or effort, or maybe they, say, well, I would really go back to the lab and I would do this one more experiment, or I would look at this one more thing. Is that a priority? Work with them to make sure that you're understanding what priorities are, and that if you're the peer reviewer, make sure you're saying this is the number one thing that's going to help this paper or help this manuscript. As always, when you're receiving feedback from a peer, remember you have 2 options. You can take it or you can leave it. You can take the comments that they're making, take the information that they're giving you, use it and benefit from it and make those changes, or you can say, I just don't agree with this. I'm not going to take that suggestion. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to leave the passage as is. And you can pick and choose. Maybe of the 12 comments that they made, 10 of them you think are pretty much on target, and you're going to take those and use them. And the other 2, you're going to leave them. You're going to skip over them. You don't really think it's important to do those changes, or you don't think they're right. They're not reflective of you or not reflective of your work. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to be able to stand behind your work. It's going to be your name on the paper, not your peer reviewer necessarily. And you're going to be the one submitting it and sending it in. It's going to be your name on the publication. It's going to stay with you for the rest of your professional career, that this is your piece of writing. You need to stand behind it. So if someone makes a recommendation that you don't necessarily agree with, before you make that change, make sure that you can live with it, that you can stand behind that change or that edit or that revision. You may be asked by the editor when you submit it, are all of these your own? Is all of this what you're standing behind? And you have to be able to say, yeah, I did these. These are mine. These are appropriate. Especially when it comes to your own writing style and your own tone and the mood that you're setting in your writing, the conclusions that you're drawing. So if someone sticks in a word that just, that's not me, that's not how I write, that's not what I'm doing, stand up for that. Go back to that. I can take what I need, and I can take what will be helpful, and I can leave the rest. So hopefully this session on editing and revising your work and mechanics has been helpful for you. If there are things that I left out, feel free to peer review me. I will accept your comments and your critiques wholeheartedly. Here's my email address. Feel free to reach out to me or to your group leader. Love to hear from you. And until next time, good luck with your publication.